course it'll also forge finish it, so we'll get this lovely dry forged blue finish that you can see on there.
Okay. So this is going to be for film 2, isn't it?
Stand up.
Okay.
Step to the side so they can't see you. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, hi.
Wow.
Welcome back. Right.
That worked. Do you reckon it worked?
I don't know about
Who
stuff.
knows?
Yeah.
You don't know about things and stuff,
Don't
do you?
know. If it ain't wood, I don't know. All right.
Introduce us.
Hiya, Dirty Shed Creations back with you and coming at you like a spatula. We've kind of tried to imagine what questions you would be asking us, and most of them revolve around mental health issues, particularly with regard to myself. And so we've kind of glossed over all that, and we've got some, well, we've kind of tried to, again, like we've explained in kind of a previous video, we've tried to kind of like put words in your mouth out there and the questions that you guys might be thinking up to ask us about the Throne project. There seems at the moment like there's this huge design element that is being kind of used almost ad nauseum in joinery, where you have a split in a piece of timber, like most boards as they come from the kind of lumber mill and they've dried out, they enter split, and these splits and everyone's cutting out little butterflies and kind of like, you know, fitting them perfectly. And I've done that myself. I made a walnut table for a client, and we did exactly that. We did these massive butterflies and we dropped them in, and you know, they fitted beautifully, like there was, so, you know, there was no, I think you saw that table. Maybe we could flash up some images of that now. And yeah, the client loved it. The client loved the table I did. I was pleased because I'd never done the butterflies before, so I'd covered that kind of element. And that client actually turned around to me and said, oh, you know, could you make butterflies out of steel? And this was November last year. And I kind of pretty much turned around and said no. Kind of pretty much off the bat, just no. And I don't know whether that stayed with me or not, but I kind of, it's become a little bit of a motif. I made a door for a client, which I think we've shown, or we've got some footage of.
It's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up, so you can have a look at that. That was tied together with these big steel butterflies. I tend to make them out of, you know, 5mm plate like this. Kind of, that's just a little offcut there. 5mm thick plate, 4 inches wide. You know, drill them all up. They're all slightly different, so they always require hand fitting. Worked really well, looked really good. That's why we did it.
Cool. Alistair,
Hello.
why didn't you do the increasing of size you mentioned in the film?
I'd also, with this crack, I'd like to increase the size of these butterflies as we go down the crack. I suppose the really quick answer is
Quick answer from you.
Well, yeah, exactly. We didn't have kind of increasing sizes of plate to cut increasingly larger butterflies out of. And I think when we offered them up, we were both kind of quite happy that they were all going to stay the same size.
Yeah, I think that was just a design aspiration too far for the chair. It's getting a bit fancy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary. I think maybe in future there might be a project where that would work.
Maybe.
But for this one, just there was no need.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it might look quite good, you know, starting with the small butterflies, the crack as you get bigger, you know, but I don't know. We'll maybe return to that at some point. Who knows?
Nice one.
Cool.
Well, I've just looked over your shoulder and seen the other question.
Fire it at.
It's about rivets, isn't it? And that you're talking about making them and versus buying them, whereas actually
I kind of went online and I did a whole load of research because really in an ideal world I wanted dome-headed rivets. We're going to return to that in a later video. I know there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube at the moment about making dome-head rivets, so I've kind of familiarised myself with the process, but like anything, I had a go yesterday at making a heading tool that would make the dome on the top of the rivets. It was unsuccessful, so we're going to return to that. We might approach that from a more machinist perspective. We may even try and involve someone who's maybe got a slightly bigger lathe than I have, with a ball mill, and see if we can get that job done. Obviously, if we do, you'll be coming along for the ride. But the rivets, I'm using 1/2-inch bar, so essentially the shank on the rivet is 1/2 inch wide, so it's like 12mm wide. I went online. Now, like the biggest rivets you can buy have got a 12mm head, the shank then being like 8mm. And you're talking about rivets that are kind of like 2 inches long, 50mm long. And then they go, tiny stuff. So actually, I was wrong. You cannot buy rivets of that size, so you have to make them, which is good actually, because we did make them. But to be frank, I would have made them anyway, because the price of those things is just bloody ridiculous. I mean, I suppose there are there any commercial applications for rivets like that? I mean, you see them in artisan staircases, maybe shipbuilding, but I'm sure they do it in a different way now. But I had a really good look online. It is tough to buy rivets that size. Certainly with we had a 4-inch shank on those rivets. That header tool takes just over a 4-inch bar, and then you upset the head to form the head of the rivet, and the shank itself is, I've got my jig here.
We'll fast forward through this bit.
Yeah, so I mean, they end up being like a 4-inch rivet with a, like a, 30mm head on them, 30mm head. So that's quite a rivet. You can't buy those actually. So yeah.
Got any more questions?
Have
we exhausted them with your knowledge?
Well, I think that's kind of it, really. That's all we
for that episode.
Yeah, for that episode.
Cool. So, when this is released on YouTube, we'll have just done the Urban Beach Festival in Knaresborough.
Yeah, we should have.
And we will have coming up, hopefully, Ripley Show. I'm not available to film Ripley Show. So,
yeah.
My colleague and our longtime friend, Tammy, will be working on that.
Oh, okay, Tammy. Yeah.
So, Tammy will be sort of involved in all our endeavours. Behind the scenes mainly, but you might see her on camera now and again.
I think we'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ripley Show, you get down there, come and see Al. Thanks to everyone who came and saw us at Urban Beach.
12th of August.
12th of August.
Urban Beach being the 5th of August. We're going to be there on the 5th.
In the past now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting confused with your timelines. Like Back to the Future.
I know. But surely then if it's like time travel, time isn't even important.
Doesn't make any sense for someone who watches it in a year's time.
No, it doesn't, does it really? Yeah. No. Cheeky monkeys.
This chair's falling apart.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, poop. Yeah, I mean, I suppose we've got to do some shout-outs, some thank yous.
Yeah, so Christian Bailey,
who's came up with all our kind of branding ideas, our logo, all of that stuff. Thank you very much. We're going to return to him. He's got some interesting kind of stuff to share, hasn't he?
Brilliant. He's always worked with Christian for, probably over 12 years now. He's done websites, graphic design. He's one of those guys that just loves his craft, and he's very good at it. And he's never let us down. And christianbailey.com. We'll put all his links below. You can go to his website, follow him on Twitter and whatever else he's on. It'll all be down there.
Yeah, the bottom.
Under here.
Yeah.
So, who do you want to shout out?
Well, somebody who, this was quite a while ago, gave me some kind of help and advice on the making of rivets is Glenn from GS Tongs over in Taiwan. He's got his own YouTube channel. Check him out, GS Tongs. He gave us he gave me kind of quite some time back quite a bit of advice about kind of making rivets. I always come to him with some stupid question. He comes back to him with 3 or 4 different ideas about kind of how to approach something. His channel's always really innovative. I mean, his tongs, I've got a couple of pairs of his tongs. They're absolutely excellent. And he makes hammers as well, which I'm like I'd really like to kind of...
do your...
Oh, we also make my touch mark, but we're also going to return to that because although he made a touch mark for me personally, I think what we're going to try and do is see if we can get him to make a touch mark for Dirty Shed Creations, which will kind of wrap into our branding with that Christian's kind of coming up with.
See,
it all kind of meshes. It all seems to be fortuitous and work.
Yeah, so that'll be a future film maybe.
Yeah. The other person I'd like to thank is Lewis from Tips from a Shipwright, again on YouTube. It was him that came...
Too early, man. We haven't got there, have we?
Oh, snaps.
That's for the next.
Okay, well, no thanks to you then, bud. Kind of. Pardon? Pointing. What's that?
There's stuff down there.
It's sawdust.
Not in YouTube world.
I know. So thanks for joining us. Stay safe, and we look forward to catching
See you
you
next
on the
time.
next one.
Bye.
Bye. Cool. Think it's working?
We're both going to just drop on 3. 1, 2, 3. We're just going to drop into our seats, okay?
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
No, here, just like douche into the seats and it'd be like we've just fallen into the shop.
But all one thing?
No, just come and stand in.
I can't drop onto something that's bigger than me.
Well, how about if you stand on the bar and then just drop down into your seat? Does that work?
Okay.
And 1, 2, 3.